Governor Chukwuma Soludo, an economist, former CBN chief, and now APGA's leading voice in Anambra State, has made a pledge that's raising eyebrows and blood pressure across the country. The governor of Anambra State, who is running for a second term, has pledged 1 million naira cash reward for every ward won by APGA in the governorship election. Now, while many supporters call it an incentive to woo voters, critics call it vote buying, a move legal experts warn that may violate the Electoral Act. Opposition parties are also demanding answers over the implications of this pledge by the governor. Well, joining us for the discussion on what exactly Governor Soludo meant when he made the statement is National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, who is also Senior Special Assistant on Media to the Governor, Mazi Ejimofor Opara. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much. Let me apologize for hooking up a bit late. I had other, the season we are in, so it's hopping from one. We just have to appease our voters. We have to talk to our voters, Okay. So that's the season. So it begins every morning and ends, it has no end.
All right.
We finish here, we go to other areas.
We know that it's season to campaign season. We can see you are fully in campaign mode. We're going on a very quick break. When we come back, we'll head into the conversation and dissect it properly. Please stay tuned.
You're welcome back, and we're discussing events in Anambra State where the elections are inching very close to we're getting close to the November 8th D-Day for the Anambra gubernatorial elections. Absolutely.
We also have with us this morning the Senior Special Assistant on Media to the Governor, Mazi Ejimofor Opara. Thank you very much for joining us. So let's get straight into it. I don't know if our production team has the video clip. If we can't play the clip and have you respond to it, because of course there are many who have said that what the governor has said amounts to inducing voters. Section 121 of the Electoral Act prohibits financial inducement of voters. So if he pledges to reward voters, or to give local governments money and all that, is that not an inducement of voters? How do you respond to that?
Okay, good morning, and thank you very much. And one thing we are so proud of, particularly myself, about Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, is that he is one man who speaks with a lot of clarity. And when he speaks, you can't second guess him. And that is why it is difficult for anyone to misrepresent him. Now, I am happy you said he's speaking at a campaign. He spoke at a campaign, and obviously he was speaking to our party members of the All Progressives Grand Alliance. If you want to look at it in a way that is logical, very logical, and I can bet you that there is nothing against the Electoral Act that Mr. Governor has actually done. When you talk about campaign funds, what is the spirit or the contemplation of the crafters of campaign funds in the Electoral Act? Okay. What is the spirit behind, having to approve a campaign fund, and even to the point of setting limits as to campaign spendings and all that? Now, let me tell us one thing. You look at the way our political structure is in Nigeria, you would realize that political party members constitute maybe less than 5% of the total number of voters registered to vote. And of course, when we talk about registered voters, you also have non-partisans majorly as part of that population. So when you now have to talk about the political process, you're not just talking about the totality of the electorates or the totality of the voters within the voting population. You're also speaking to members of your political party whose job and responsibility is to also mobilize and canvass for support for the party to bring about victory, for the party. And let me tell you, the job of a party agent or the job of a party canvasser is not contemplated to be a thankless job. I don't know if you get that point. It's not contemplated to be. Okay. It's not. Wait, hold on. Let me conclude my thoughts so you don't, disrupt me. Sorry. So it's not a thankless job. So in doing that assignment, of course, the party has to make adequate provision, for incentive to incentivize the person who has elected to do that job for the, to do that job. And when the governor was talking about, telling the party members to go all out and mobilize, support and mobilize vote, to ensure that we have an increased voter participation on the day of the election. He was speaking, or he is speaking to members of the party who should go all out and do that. And, part of the things you must understand about labor or responsibility is that incentives are the heart of speed. Incentives are the heart of even dedication. So we are not talking about giving money to voters or going to buy voters. No, we are talking about mobilizing our members and incentivizing them to go all out, to go and canvass for vote. It's just like the job of a marketer in maybe a manufacturing company. If you have a product and nobody's talking about it, or nobody's motivated to go talk about it, the product will remain on your shelf. And you know that Anambra is one of the states. Before I even get to Anambra, if you come to the voting statistics in Nigeria, the Southeast happens to be one of the regions with the least voting participation in the country. Now, it is even much worse when you bring it down into regional analysis. Within the region, Southeast, Anambra happens to even be the least. In 2021, for instance, we had 2.7 million registered voters. And of that 2.7 million registered voters, what percentage of that population decided the vote? Less than 5%. So if you add up the number of votes cast, and before you talk about the margin of win or the difference between the winner and all those who every other candidate, the total vote cast was less than 200,000, less than 10% of the registered voters. So we have a situation in our hands. We call it voter apathy, and that's exactly what we experience here. So if anything that you must do to increase voter participation within the confines of the law, I believe it is not something anyone should raise eyebrow, to raise his or her eyebrows for, except somebody who has something to benefit, under or with voter apathy.
Okay, just to
inform best interest for voters to be apathetic.
Just to quickly explain for the benefit of our
voter participation.
If I may please interject, for the benefit of our audience, to share quickly what was said. It was a campaign rally, like you rightly mentioned, on Saturday. He had announced a cash reward for every ward won by APGA. And I'm just going to quote him. He says, "When we were campaigning for the Senate, we knew we were going to win every ward in the South Senatorial Zone. But we still had some incentives. Any ward that APGA won received 1 million naira, and we won all the wards in Orumba South. We promised each of these wards 1 million naira, and next week we will redeem it. For November 8th, any ward that wins again will receive 1 million naira, while the first 3 performing wards will get 5 million naira, 2 million naira, and 1 million naira. This was what he told the crowd at Umunze, Orumba South local government area on Saturday. And just to reference section 121 of the Electoral Act 2022 of Nigeria, which says any person who directly or indirectly or themselves or through any person on their behalf corruptly makes any gift, loan, offer, promise, or procurement to or for any other person in order to induce that person to procure or to endeavor to procure the election of a candidate to a legislative house or elective office or the vote of a voter at an election," and then goes on to list a number of these. And many have argued that this falls into the category of what was prohibited by section 121, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022.
They are not one and the same. I may not be a lawyer, but the spirit of what you have read, they are not one and the same. Parties must go out to mobilize their members for eventual...
I don't know if you heard the part that I said, not just procure, but endeavor. It says, in order to induce that person to procure or to endeavor to procure the election of a candidate or to a legislative house or elective office, or the vote of a voter or an election. The issue here is the promising of monetary returns. That's the issue here.
And I'm telling you that parties, I said we are speaking to our party members. I don't forget that. You have to understand. See, the law is, they say the law is an act.
And the party members not Nigerian citizens.
Let me tell you.
Before they are party members, are they not primarily Nigerian citizens?
We are speaking to our party members and mobilizing them for victory. So, whichever way you want to even see it, let's even put it this way. When you talk about, vote buying, oftentimes it's often seen as, what you give to the voters before or during election. Now, when we're talking about mobilizing our members and our canvassers and our agents to go out and increase the participation of our people who are, who should be part of the electoral process, it is
but the campaign venue was not open to only APGA carrying members.
Go and tell them why it should be APGA. And in the course of doing this, of course, every workman, has his pay. And part of the reason why it is announced this way is to make for competition. Is to make for competition, to make it very competitive. So now you have, for instance, Agwata telling the governor, don't worry, we're going to mobilize the most. We'll mobilize more than Orumba North.
So
no, Orumba North.
You can only make it competitive financially.
Very interesting. So when you talk about vote buying in the state, we have parties that have the antecedent or that are well known and established as parties who go all out to buy votes. In 2021, it was very manifest. If you remember the classical case that happened at Dunukofia, which has become known as the Ukulu situation, where a particular party's agent was on ground at the polling unit and inducing voters with some cash amount to say, come and vote for our party. You saw people who came up there and resisted.
Mazi Opara.
Let me not mention, I wouldn't want to mention the name of the party.
Yeah,
what I want to understand is that there's a world of difference between vote buying and voter mobilization.
Okay, Mazi Opara, let's take it that there's a difference between vote buying and voter, I don't know how you put it. Mobilization. Don't you have a party that has, your party, don't you have a committee that can handle this mobilization in its own office or offices, different wards, where you can meet them, mobilize them at their wards? And secondly, that gathering didn't seem like it was just APGA faithfuls that were there. It seems there were other people there, except you want to clearly state here. We would like you to state categorically.
There was exclusively.
That was exclusive for APGA members alone. Then we would do our findings and possibly share with you that maybe.
As a matter of fact, if you look at the scroll bar, because all of these processes are beamed live on television. If you look at the scroll bar of all our campaign rallies, what you see is APGA campaign rally in A local government or B local government or C local government. So the fact that we are talking about APGA, it is an APGA affair.
But it's APGA
to the compass, it is now for you to prove.
APGA party members, not first Nigerian citizens before they are APGA party members. And the laws not apply. Again, if I go further to read subsection 2 of section 121, it says, a voter commits an offense of bribery where before or during an election, directly or indirectly, by his or herself or by any other person on his or her behalf, receives, agrees or contracts for any money, gift, loan, or valuable consideration, office, place or employment for his or herself or for any other person for voting or agreeing to vote or for refraining or agreeing to refrain from voting at such election. I think the point we're arguing about here is money. But just to quickly add, because we're out of time.
That session that says before or during.
Just to agree, because we are out of time, right? Just to mention that
it is not exactly.
You have said that it is not bribery, but I'm sure that this is still
for the sake of clarity. It is not inducement, it is incentivization.
Okay, so agreeing but not conceding to the fact, that it is not bribery. If I may please ask this question because we're out of time. Agreeing but not conceding to the fact that it is not bribery, will you at least agree that APGA has gotten to desperate means? And APGA is desperate at this point.
So why the financial inducement?
The party that is dominant on ground has no need for desperation.
So why the inducement?
That APGA is a religion in Anambra State. There is no family you go to in Anambra that you don't have at least one APGA member, if not APGA members. So we have no reason to be desperate. As a matter of fact, anyone who has come to study the political season, that's this political season, will tell you that there is a no contest. There's a no contest. Beyond all the noise of minorities having their say or raising dust where there is none, it tells you that these people, whichever party you call them, they are not on ground. On November 8th, you will see it. We saw it on August 16th at the by-election in Anambra South and Onitsha North 1, and we saw that APGA had over 99.9% victory at that poll. So, and the same thing will repeat itself because it's a given that when it has to do with Anambra's elections in Anambra, that APGA would have the day. APGA is a pervasive force, a dominant force in Anambra state politics, especially during the governorship elections. So you don't. If there's anyone who is coming to say that even if we fold our arms and not even say a word, I can bet you for free that APGA will win.
So you're not intimidated by the popularity of George Mogalu. The popularity of George Moghalu.
You cannot be putting George Moghalu and popularity in the same sentence now. It doesn't work. You can't put George Moghalu and popularity in the context of this election in the same sentence.
Why?
No.
The obedient movement have thrown their weight behind George Moghalu. Doesn't that count as something? The obedient movement.
Which of the ones on Twitter or the ones in Abuja and Lagos? Or the ones
that was the same thing that was said about the obedient movement in the 2023 election.
Let me tell
and you saw their faults.
The obedience in Anambra, you have the clip. At a rally in Awka South local government. The leader of the obedience movement in Anambra State, I'm saying Tanko Yunusa, he doesn't live in Anambra, he doesn't stay there, he doesn't even understand the voting pattern in Anambra State. So you can't be quoting Tanko Yunusa, who is neither a voter in Anambra nor even an electorate here. I'm telling you about the leader of the obedient movement in Anambra State, who stormed our rally with thousands of their members to declare total support for APGA and Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo.
Well, that's not the report that we got. The report that we got was that the obedient movement threw their support behind George Moghalu. Final question, Nicholas Ukachukwu, we've seen a number of governors moving to the APC, pledging allegiance to the center. The APC is the party in power at the federal level. Do you not feel intimidated that at some measure, or in some measure, the APC will be able to wield influence that will be able to help Prince Nicholas Ukachukwu in the elections?
These are the issues that, when you ask these questions, these are some of the issues that I think journalists should begin to even, resist from even asking. Because when you talk about wield influence, for me, what I hear is, voter intimidation, subversion of the people's will, and every other negative that has to do with election process. Because I'm not seeing where you are saying if Nicholas Ukachukwu stands any chance with the electorate, or if he's seen or defined as competent enough to lead the Anambra State of the North.
But Mr. Soludo did not think about competency when he was offering 1 million naira.
He said?
Mr. Soludo did not rely on his competency when he was offering 1 million naira.
He relied on what? What did he rely on? I'm telling you that as of today, Governor Soludo happens to be the only governor in known history in Anambra State who is coming for a second term re-election on the basis of his sterling performance.
But why is he offering money?
Before you say Jack, people are looking out to you.
I only brought that up as well. I only brought that up because he said journalists shouldn't ask such questions that when we do what you're hearing
just
is
before we go, following up on what my colleague said, talking about
part of the narrative at all, that the center is coming to wield influence. It shouldn't be part of the narrative because everyone who is standing for election should stand for election.
Okay, I would rephrase that. There might be citizens in Anambra State that might want an alignment of the center with India Anambra, and they might see Mr. Ikachukwu's gubernatorial candidacy as a viable option to achieve that, so as to get more benefits from the center. After all, governors that have been defecting have been using that as an excuse. So it makes him a viable proposition to some. How do you address that issue with regards to Mr. Ikachukwu?
The fact is, oftentimes when I come on air and I'm asked questions about Mr. Ukachukwu, Nicholas, whatever, I often want to ask for commercials. Like I often want to ask for to be paid, because it's most often when we talk about him that he's even talked about, that people even get to know that somebody like him exists in this process. So it kind of, I kind of, maybe after now, you guys would have to, sign some check for me for even mentioning his name in this conversation. Because when you come to Anambra, this is somebody that, how do I put it? He's not even in the top 11. You get it. To be modest, he's not even in the top 11 in terms of considering, in terms of the consideration of persons who should lead Anambra of today.
Okay.
He's not in the top 11.
All right, let's not mention.
When you talk about him aligning to the center, the question is, at what point did he even move to this center? And does the center even know him? Does the center recall with him as a progressive?
So does the center know? Your
stowaways? These are stowaways. People who tried to,
Mazi,
people who see political parties as SPVs.
Mazi,
so wherever they go to, they just want to hop on any party, just to be seen as part of.
Mazi Opara, please, we have to go. we have to go.
Yeah.
And would appreciate if you can just answer the question straightforward. A hospital was hurriedly commissioned. The videos are circulating online. There were rumors that, treatment had been taking place
That 4 surgeries had happened. 4
surgeries. But in the Anambra have come out to say that that's a big lie, a big fat lie, as they put it. That the governor just hurriedly put that as a way to heighten his chances at the elections. Can you categorically tell us here, live on this program, that that hospital has carried out 4 surgeries and it is working perfectly as we speak now? Because we have people there, we have our reporters there, they can quickly go and confirm.
To you, just on Saturday, the first successful delivery took place at Anako, General Hospital Anako. Now, when I saw that video, that cocky video made by the director of mobilization, or is a deputy director of mobilization, I think, of the APC, one Barrister Richard, the one who was wearing the pajamas. You know, he's a deputy director of the APC, one of their directors for this election and all that. You know, he went there and just did some, will I say, grandstanding, and he came up to say nothing happened. See, it is almost impossible for you to deny facts that are verifiable.
Okay.
You have your correspondents. You have your correspondents who are in Anambra. Send them to the Solution Hospital in Anako.
Okay.
And let them bring to you the hospital records and show you the patient's, maybe if it's allowed, the patient's history, and establish for you whether or not the governor commissioned a hospital that was
all right. So
it's not in our character.
We have to go.
It's not in our character for us to go out and deceive the people. That hospital is up and running.
We have to go now. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We hope that we can have you back. We know that it's campaign season, back to back. We wish you all the best at the polls, and we look forward to seeing you again. More importantly, we want the best man to win for the benefit of Anambra. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure being here.
All right, great to have you as well.